The Old City is a 0.9 square kilometer walled area within the modern city of Jerusalem. The history of the Old City has been documented in significant detail, notably in old maps of Jerusalem over the last 1,500 years. This area constituted the entire city of Jerusalem until the late 19th century. Neighboring villages such as Silwan and new Jewish neighborhoods such Mishkeno Sha'ananam later became part of the municipal boundaries. The Old City is home to several sites of key religious importance. The Temple Mount and Western Wall for Jews, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre for Christians, and the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque for Muslims. It was added to the UNESCO World Heritage Site list in 1981. Traditionally, the Old City has been divided into 4 uneven quarters, although the current designations were introduced only in the 19th century. Today, the Old City is roughly divided into the Muslim, Christian, Armenian and Jewish quarters. The Old City's monumental defensive walls and city gates were built in 1535 to 1542 by the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. The current population of the Old City resides mostly in the Muslim and Christian quarters. As of 2007, the total population was 36,965. The breakdown of religious groups in 2006 was 27,500 Muslims and 3,089 Jews. During the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the Old City was captured by Jordan and all its Jewish residents were evicted. During the Six-Day War in 1967, which saw hand-to-hand fighting on the Temple Mount, Israeli forces captured the Old City along with the rest of East Jerusalem, subsequently annexing them as Israeli territory and reuniting them with the western part of the city. Today, the Israeli government controls the entire area, which it considers part of its national capital. However, the Jerusalem Law of 1980, which effectively annexed East Jerusalem to Israel, was declared null and void by United Nations Security Council Resolution 478. East Jerusalem is now regarded by the international community as part of occupied Palestinian territory. According to the Hebrew Bible, before King David's conquest of Jerusalem in the 11th century BCE, the city was home to the Jebusites. The Bible describes the city as heavily fortified with a strong city wall, a fact confirmed by archaeology. The Bible names the city ruled by King David as the City of David. In Hebrew, Ir David, which was identified southeast of the Old City walls, outside the Dung Gate. In the Bible, David's son, King Solomon, extended the city walls to include the temple and Temple Mount. The city was largely extended westwards after the Neo-Assyrian destruction of the northern kingdom of Israel and the resulting influx of refugees. Destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar in 586 BCE, it was rebuilt on a smaller scale in about 440 BCE. During the Persian period, when, according to the Bible, Nehemiah led the Jews who returned from the Babylonian exile, an additional, so-called Second Wall, was built by King Herod the Great. In 41 to 44 CE, Agrippa, king of Judea, started building the so-called Third Wall, around the northern suburbs. The entire city was totally destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. The northern part of the city was rebuilt by the Emperor Hadrian around 130, under the name Aelia Capitolina. In the Byzantine period, Jerusalem was extended southwards and again enclosed by city walls. Muslims occupied Byzantine Jerusalem in the 7th century under the second Caliph, Umar ibn al-Khattab, who annexed it to the Islamic Arab Empire. He granted its inhabitants an assurance treaty. After the siege of Jerusalem, Sophronius welcomed Umar, allegedly because, according to biblical prophecies known to the church in Jerusalem, a poor, but just and powerful man, would rise to be a protector and ally to the Christians of Jerusalem. Sophronius believed that Umar, a great warrior who led an austere life, was a fulfillment of this prophecy. In the account by the Patriarch of Alexandria, Eutychius, it is said that Umar paid a visit to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and sat in its courtyard. When the time for prayer arrived, however, he left the church and prayed outside the compound. In order to avoid having future generations of Muslims use his prayer there as a pretext for converting the church into a mosque. Eutychius adds that Umar also wrote a decree which he handed to the Patriarch, in which he prohibited Muslims gathering in prayer at the site. In 1099, Jerusalem was captured by the Western Christian army of the First Crusade and it remained in their hands until recaptured by the Arab Muslims, led by Saladin. On October 2, 1187, he summoned the Jews and permitted them to resettle in the city. In 1219, the walls of the city were raised by Sultan al-Mu'azzam of Damascus. In 1229, by treaty with Egypt, Jerusalem came into the hands of Frederick II of Germany. In 1239 he began to rebuild the walls, but they were demolished again by Dad, the emir of Kerak. In 1243, Jerusalem came again and